This is Simon with AvaTrade. I want to welcome everyone to our weekly webinar. And the name is your weekly trading plan. And as I always say, and the traders like to use this phrase, you plan your trade and then you trade your plan. And again, it doesn't guarantee success, but it definitely removes all the chaos that is there when we do like some spontaneous trading or unplanned trading or just reactive trading. Okay. A few things about myself. Simon Friedman, that's me, Senior Account Manager with AvaTrade, and I've been involved with markets for over 23 years. I started as a proprietary trader back in New York in the year 2000 when the bubble just burst. That was a fun time. And I did it for about 11 years, intense prop trading. That's pretty much day trading. We traded only stocks back then and just day trading, not taking any positions overnight. And after that intense 11 years of trading, I moved away from day trading or from the intense day trading of the prop firm. And I started a different way of trading, also started to mentor, educate other traders. And currently, I'm very happy that I can assist our customers at AvaTrade. And the agenda of the webinar is pretty much the same as we do every week. We talk about indices, stocks, commodities, Forex. Also, we talk about the big picture, what's been happening, what's about to happen. We discuss economic calendar. And a risk warning, you can find a full statement at avatrade.com. What we do here is purely educational. We do not suggest any trades. Now, these are the channels that I highly recommend for you to follow. We have Telegram, we have Twitter. I really miss that bird. I keep on saying it probably will take me a few weeks to get used to this X. So we have Telegram, Twitter, and my favorite YouTube channel. And here you can find a lot of educational material, tutorials, webinars are being posted. So if you missed the webinar, you can always go back and watch it at your convenient time. So please feel free to sign up. Feel free to click on that bell and you'll be notified for new things. And of course, share the links with your friends if you think that's beneficial. Okay, before we go to economic calendar, just to remind everyone, we all know it, just a reminder, we're in August. So August normally is a month that less trading happening, and that's logical. A lot of families are taking vacation, a lot of traders are stepping away from their desks, and it's time for vacations. And so that's on one hand. The other hand, we have certain things happening, and the traders are really paying attention to what's happening as far as the inflation and other things, because we're still focusing on Feds and the actions of the Feds as far as the interest rate. We have upcoming meeting in September. We have this week the FOMC meeting minutes when we'll have more idea of how and what decisions they're making and so on. So we're still focusing, and the market is still sensitive to the Feds, and of course all the data that is there for the Feds to analyze. That's the state of the economy, the employment, and the main one is the inflation, as the main goal of the Feds is to bring the inflation to 2%. So that's the big picture. And we had some surprise inflation numbers last week that were kind of lower than expected. And market initially reacted to the positive and then was sold. So we'll take a look when we get to the terminal as far as the situation in the markets. Okay, so let's go through economic calendar. And again, for new people, I really want to mention that here I just take the high impact events. They're in red. You can use whatever really relates to your trading as far as the countries, the level of importance, and so on. I choose to take the high impact here because if I take more, it takes a lot of space. And I mean, logically, this is the important things. And again, some people ask, is it important to follow economic calendar? I think it's for you to decide, but I think in general, it's good to know that certain things are happening, especially events that create high volatility like NFP numbers, interest rate decisions, inflational numbers, retail sales, and so on. Those are the numbers when they come out, it creates volatility on the market. So I think it's good to know and be prepared for that. Whether you choose to trade or stay away, it's totally up to you, of course. So let's go through it really quickly. We have GDP numbers from Japan on Monday. Tuesday, we have a bunch of numbers. We have Bank of Australia meeting minutes. We have industrial production from China. Now, China is really in focus. They're really struggling there. The economy is struggling. We'll take a look at the chart when we get there. So important, the industrial production. We have employment data from UK on Tuesday as well. Retail sales from US are very, very important. We have CPI numbers from Canada. That's all on Tuesday. And Wednesday, we have monetary policy statement from New Zealand, CPI numbers from UK, GDP numbers from European Union, and this is I think the most important event of the week, FOMC minutes, we have on the 16th, which is Wednesday. And again, we did have that meeting when they announced the increase of 0.25%. So now we'll know more of the details and more of the further plans of the Fed. So that's, I think, the most serious announcement of this week. Thursday, we have employment data from Australia and retail sales from UK on Friday. Okay, so these are the events. Again, these are the high impact. If you go to mid impact or low impact, there's a lot more events, and you can find them, the economic calendar on our web trader or AvaGo app or any provider of the data. This is public information. It's not a secret, and they should be reporting the same things at the same time. Okay. Before we go further, like last week, I showed you the VIX, and this is some call it a fear indicator. Usually when it's low, it shows the market is strong and maybe it's time to reverse. And when it's high, like here, that the market is oversold. So we were saying last week we were around 17, then into the week we hit the high of over 18, and we closed the week at 1484, which is a low volatility. Again, there was a lot on the market, but because it's August, it also affects the volatility, which is probably lower than usual. So we'll be watching definitely the VIX indicator in the upcoming week. And I just wanted to show you how it acted this week. Again, we said it was 1710, I think last week when we looked at it. And we had the spike to over 18, we came back to below 15. And just to give you the comparison, we were around 13 for a long time. And a lot of analysts were saying that maybe the market should turn south because the VIX are very, very low. Around 13, we even hit below 13 for a few times. Okay, so let's go to the terminal. Okay, we'll start with China. And as I mentioned, China is not really doing well. And just looking back fundamentally, there was all about COVID, zero policy. Then they opened things up, and they were hoping that the economy would rebound. We had a nice move recently from the lows, and that ended the end of July. And since then, we've been selling. Since they reported export and import numbers were super low, and I think that triggered also partially the sell-off. So Friday was a very strong sell-off. Take a look. We broke through 200 moving average, broke to 100, and stopped around 50 moving average at the lows of the day. And weekly, it's a second consecutive week. So if we do continue lower here, if we break this 50 moving average, we actually might go lower till we meet this downtrend trend line. As you could see here, we broke through it, and now we're on the way back, probably retest it. But let's see, we're not gonna guess. We'll just take one day at a time. So with China, as I know, as you know, I mention often few things that are moving with China. That's copper, and take a look. Copper reacted to it, and we speak about it all the time when we discuss China. Copper sold, and just to explain, copper is being used a lot in construction, and one of the main downside or negative things in Chinese economy now, there's big issues in real estate, and some developers are declaring defaults. So definitely the building or construction is really slowing, and that affects the demand of copper. So copper is not really doing that great. Another one is usually being reacting to China is crude oil. But crude oil, as some of my colleagues were asking me last week, what's the reason oil is going up? And it's all fear on the supply side. As I mentioned to you last week, there are some cuts from Saudi Arabia, there's some cuts from Russia, and the inventories were low. So all this move up on crude oil, it's all supply related. So let's see how this week will play for oil. And of course, two currency pairs that are called commodity currencies, that's Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar. So you could see both of them were super weak. On Australian dollar, we come to the level that we might have a big fight over here. The low of 0.6484, that's where we started the move that caused a high over here. So we're actually facing that level again. And New Zealand dollar is super strong. We'll get there in a moment when we get to Forex. We'll discuss it more deeply, but also the serious level here. So that's as far as China. Now, US indices, Nasdaq was the weakest one out of three. Let's take a look really quick. So Nasdaq Composite, now again, these are not the same number, these are the future, but Nasdaq Composite fell. That's the index itself, not the futures. It fell 1.9% this week. You could see it's serious. It's second consecutive week, and it's a strong sell-off. On Fridays, it fell 0.7%, and for the week, 1.9%. So overall, in August, Nasdaq is down 4.9%. So it's pretty much a lot. But just to take into consideration that Nasdaq on the year, that means from January of this year, it's still up over 30%. So it's still a strong performance. Now, Dow Jones was the strongest out of three. It actually finished Friday. So it says right here, again, we're talking about the index itself. It rose 0.6% for the week. And let's see if the futures show the same thing. Oh, the futures are not the same. Anyway, it's the strongest out of three. And S&P 500, also second consecutive week. And it fell 0.3% for the week and 0.1% for the day. And also a second consecutive week. So we see there's a pressure to the downside. And if you take a look at S&P, for instance, interestingly enough, the previous sell-off started about the same level here. If you remember, we probably spoke about it back then. We had two consecutive weeks over here, a high of 45.85. That was back in January of last year, second week, and then we retested again and we sold, and we were in the selling a downtrend, as you see over here in the weekly chart. We kept on making lower lows, lower highs, and then we had a nice move this year. As we said, the indices had a very nice performance. And take a look, we just hit this level back the end of July. We closed higher, which give hope to a lot of traders of possible continuation. And the past week we broke below and we continue selling. So it could be that this level remains a strong resistance, and it could be that we triggered a next sell-off to the downside. I guess we'll find out in upcoming days and weeks. So that's as far as indices. Now, European indices, let's take a quick look. Also, DAX sold from retesting the highs, and we are in consolidation here. So let's see what this upcoming week brings. We are below 50 and below 100 moving average. We might continue lower. It depends, of course, what US market will be doing and what the data will be showing this upcoming week. UK 100 as well. We retested the 200 moving average and we sold. Friday was a big sell-off on UK index. So we established that in indices, we are selling. US indices are selling. The weakest one is the Nasdaq. We'll take a look at some individual stocks at the moment. All right. So let's start with Apple. And I look at Apple as a leader of the market, as we mentioned a while ago. The first $3 trillion company, and we had a hard time breaking here 196, and then the earnings came. If you remember, we mentioned it, and the fear that was in the air that the iPhone sales are going to be slow, it actually realized, and the stock sold, and since then we didn't really have a bounce since that earning announcement. So we did close around, what was the close on Friday? 177.67. So I looked at it in a simple way. If the leader of the market is selling, that means until things turn around in this individual stock, we probably will be seeing continuation to the downside. And here also strategic levels, you could see for the whole week, we're pretty much fighting with this level. And there's a reason here on June 8th on the daily chart. We started this latest move to the upside, and from the low 177.38. So you could see here, right? No, sorry, this is the level 177.38. So that's what I mark here in the green line, 177.30, and we're right on the 100 moving average. So definitely we'll be watching Apple as a leader and as a stock that affects Nasdaq the most probably. And we'll see what this week brings. If we hold this level and turn around and continue higher, we could probably see a move up in other tech stocks and in Nasdaq in general. Now, if we're talking about Disney here, Disney reported not such a great news, but at the same time, they announced they increasing the monthly fees for subscribers. So maybe that got investors excited that it will affect the bottom line of the company in a positive way. So the stock is trading a little bit higher. Just to show you the long picture, Disney's been struggling a lot. Just to give a little bit of a history, the ex-CEO came back, then the CFO left the company, and they're really struggling. I think the main struggle is the streaming business. They're trying to catch up with Netflix, and they're having a hard time because they do spend a lot and the earnings are not so great. So in any event, this is the first positive week for Disney. Let's see how that announcement of the changes of the membership fees will affect the stock going higher. Now, we've been talking about Teva, if you remember, week after week. The stock is slowly but surely moving up. We started talking about it recently at around 720, 730, and we said it has a tendency of traveling between $7 and $11, and the stock's been super strong. Again, dollar-wise, it's not a lot, but percentage-wise, it's a nice move. We moved about $2.50. That's about 30% from the value of the stock. And I think that's nice. So we'll be watching Teva. As you could see that as it's moving up, it's building consolidation now. So we might see continuation to the upside. Now, this week we have earnings from retailers, and also it's coming a day after, I think, the retail sales. As we mentioned, retail sales announcement from the States will be on Tuesday. And then Wednesday and Thursday, we have three big retailers are reporting. We have Home Depot and Target reporting on Wednesday, and Walmart on Thursday. So I just want to show you Walmart for a moment. And it looks like Walmart is at the all-time highs here. This level here, this is the monthly chart. So in April 2022, the high was 160.65. And we are at 161 close on Friday. The stock is showing a lot of strength. Let's see what that earning report will do. We might see the new highs, or we might sell off on the bad earnings. And it's interesting because the report on retail sales are coming on Tuesday. So maybe that report, if it's not so great, might actually inject some negativity into the stock even before the earnings as a sign of the possible earnings. So definitely we'll be watching the retail sales report in general and the earning report for the Walmart. The other big stocks, they're all selling, as Microsoft is selling and breaking supports. We have Facebook selling. We have Intel is Intel is actually holding here. We have Amazon after, you see the Amazon after the reporting a good news. I think that was the same day when Apple reported not such a great news. So Amazon gapped up strongly, but we didn't really continue. So Amazon is trying to hold these levels here. And if the market sells, we might see the Amazon trying to close that gap, moving lower. And let's take a quick look at Tesla. Tesla is holding this level here around 140, 141. That's the level from which we made the high, and we are sitting here again at this level. So definitely we'll be watching this 240 for Tesla as a strategic level, make it or break it. Okay, so that's as far as stocks. Again, we established that Apple is selling as a leader. Nasdaq is being affected, of course, by this sell-off, and that's why it shows the most weakness out of three indices. Let's take a look at commodities, and we partially spoke about it. So we spoke about copper, as copper is selling due to not such a great Chinese news. And this level here, that a lot of actions here, we stopped the sell-off, then we started the move up from this level around 369. We moved higher, we stopped again over here, we came to retest this level again, and let's see, the low of Friday on copper was 369.20. So we'll take this level, Friday's lows, as the current support, and let's see if copper is holding this level and bouncing. Maybe we'll see some surprisingly good news globally on the markets, especially from China. If not, if we break below this level, we might see continuation to the downside. So copper will be watching, and we are approaching the 200 moving average here, as you could see. So we'll be watching the copper. Crude oil, as I mentioned, it's all driven by fear of low supply. Not much on the demand, because demand is not so great, or at least shouldn't be so great based on the market activities. So we did have Wednesday move up below the previous resistance here of 83.52, and a reversal on Thursday, and pretty much a flat day on Friday. So where the high, and between the high and the low, no, open and close. Open 82.88, close 83.06. So 18 cents difference between the open and close. And we did close below this level. So around about 83.5, it's our resistance for now on crude oil. Let's see how this week plays. Natural gas actually gave us a nice move this past week. The high was 301. We almost hit this level of 302 that was reached in February. So it's a good sign. If you remember, we mentioned the 260. It was a lot of actions around 260. And this week, we had a very strong move to the upside, and followed by Thursday sell-off and the flat day on Friday. So definitely, we'll be watching natural gas of possible another attempt of retesting around 3 level and possibly moving high. Okay, so that's as far as natural gas. Gold. Gold has been weak as we have dollar gaining strength, and also 10 years yields a strong day above 411, I think. So gold is reacting to the downside. If you remember, the 1955 was the level that we're holding, and we broke through it. And Friday was not the Friday, that's a weekly chart. So we've been there. We broke that level back the beginning of August, and we've been selling below, and we are trading below the 200 moving average. And that's what we discussed last week, that every time we hit the 200 moving average, the gold bounced like it did here, here, and here, and now we're trading below, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4 sessions closing below the 200 moving average, and the pressure is building to the downside. So that's gold. And let's take a look at soft commodities for a moment, and we'll discuss wheat, corn, and cotton. So wheat is approaching the level of support. It shoot up from here on July 13th, so you could see on the weekly chart. And of course, the whole move was triggered by Russia getting out of the grain agreement that was brokered by UN and Turkey. And we came close to that level again. We bounced, and then we testing, or probably will be testing this level around 621. That's what we hit before making a high move. So that's on wheat. Corn, similar situation. We are at the bottom, retesting this level that we hit back in mid-July. The low here is 473.75, and we're doing it again. So let's see if we're holding it, or also could be scenario that we break lower. It's also possible. And there's a possibility that we close lower and continue to the downside. And if we do hold this level, we might see a bounce to the upside. Again, a lot of it depends on a lot of aspects. I always say when you trade commodities, especially grains, soft commodities, or agricultural, there are few names. It's a lot of aspects that are affecting them, and that's the weather and seasonal and so on. So definitely, if you're involved in soft commodity trading, you have to take that into consideration. And here's cotton. We spoke about cotton, and I mentioned to you on the weekly chart, there was a very long consolidation here, accumulation, you can call it. And we did try to bounce to the upside in July. And this week we did, and we closed above it for the first time in a very long time. So this could actually mean that we finally out of this long channel. Again, this channel started about a year ago, almost a year ago, September of 2022, a very long consolidation here. And finally, this is the first move actually out of the channel, like I said, and closing higher. So this is could be a nice opportunity to the upside. Again, we could easily dive back below the line. Ideally, we want to see a build up above this level, building a nice support and moving higher. But taking into consideration that the accumulation took already a long time, we might actually not see the retest of this line, we might see just jumping higher and breaking through the previous tails that we had and moving higher. So definitely we'll be watching cotton, very important. Okay, Forex. We start with dollar index, as we mentioned when we spoke about gold. The dollar is getting strong. We are back above the trend line that we had here, connecting the lows, as you could see here. We had the sell-off, and then slowly we regained some strength, and we came above the trend line again. We are above 50 and 100 moving average. We are on the way, possibly retesting the 200 moving average. Also, it could be around the level here from which we sold, and the high here was 103.09. So we might see, and actually the 200 moving average currently is about the same level. So we might see continuation to this level, and then we'll be watching what's next for US dollar. And of course, the major pairs acting accordingly. Dollar strong against majors. Euro dollar, as you remember, we said the 110 was a strategic level. We did face strong resistance around it, and we are at closing at 109.47, right on 100 moving average. British pound is also, of course, weaker. So the strength of a dollar, of course, it's no brainer. When you see majors, they are selling against the dollar. Now, we spoke about few pairs that kind of worth watching. This is the ZAR, USD ZAR. When the dollar sold, and we saw the huge sell-off on the dollar, came down, and then with the strength of the dollar, this pair, of course, moved higher, and we could be seeing retesting of this levels here around 1914, 1915, possibly. And the pair that I've been talking to you about for a few weeks now, the USD Hungarian forint, it's not very popular within traders, but it gives nice opportunities if you're on the right side of the trade. So we mentioned it around 335, 338 levels. We caught this move. Then it was a sell-off when the dollar sold, then we came right back into this channel, and we had a nice move breaking the 200 moving average, making the higher high. So now we can try to connect these highs, and if the dollar continued strength, so we might see continuation to the upside, and at some point touching the trend line going forward. So that's as far as Hungarian forint. Now, a few pairs we spoke about, and that's NZD CHF that we said that's been retesting the historical low here. And the low here, sorry for the pause, 0.5298, we mentioned last week, and we did break through it. So we made a lower low, and take a look on the daily chart. We did close below and continued on Friday. So it could mean that we might continue lower. We don't really have the reference below. As the Swiss franc has been super strong, we'll take a look at the other pair in a moment. And we might continue lower here. And in order for us to turn around, we really need to come back above this line, 0.5298, start building support, and continue higher from here. As of now, the trend is very strong to the downside, and we might actually continue lower here. CHF JPY, we've been mentioning this pair. Again, sorry for repeating myself every week, but this is important. This level, 159.88, was the level that we hit in 1979, 44 years ago. And we mentioned that we might have a reversal. We didn't. We retested it a few times. We made a high, retested again, and made a high. So we are in the unknown zone. We can continue high over here, indefinite, and we'll be watching that. And again, if at some point we come to this level, we could see a crucial turnaround is possible. So as of now, if you look at the daily chart, we have a new line of resistance that we confirmed a few times, and that's around 163.97. And we hit this once, then we came back to retest the channel, hit again. And in the past week, the whole week, we've been moving higher. So on the strength of Swiss franc and weakness of Japanese yen, which brings us to Japanese yen. Again, I just want to bring it up fundamentally. The Bank of Japan is the only bank that hasn't changed interest rate yet, and others did it a lot, to say the least. So we continue watching all the pairs, and as of now, they all are moving higher against the yen. And let's see, at some point, maybe we'll hear that surprise from Japan, and maybe it will be a turnaround. As of now, the Japanese yen remains very, very weak. Swiss franc remains very strong. So that's the thing. And the dollar, just to wrap it up, the dollar continues its strength, and we might be retesting 103, which is the resistance, and around the 200 moving average as well. So that's it with Forex. And let's take a quick look at Bitcoin. Nothing major is happening here. As we said last week, we've been trading within a 2,000 range, between 28,000 and 30,000. We're not really breaking out. We tried a few times and nothing's happening. So it's ranging. And I guess if we hear anything fundamental, the only thing that I heard that's crypto related, that the CEO or former CEO of FTX, he is back in jail. That's the only thing came through things that I saw. Okay, so again, cryptocurrencies, I know there are other currencies and markets in this area that people are trading. Bitcoin, as the main one, is not doing much. It's been ranging here. Okay, so let's put it all together, guys, and let's just put it all together as a big picture. We have August, which is kind of slow historically. At the same time, we have some series announcement, and we have, I think, one of the most important ones for the week, including the retail sale from US. It's the FOMC meeting minutes, and we'll have more ideas of the Feds, what's been happening. And also, I meant to show you this picture here. This is the CME probability on the Feds. As of now, for September, there's 90% probability of rates remaining the same. So 90 against the 10 of the change. But interestingly enough, November, it looks a little bit different. We have only 63% staying the same, and almost 34% increase of 0.25. So I just wanted to mention that. Again, so we'll hear more about the Fed's intentions, and that's this week. And markets are having a downside pressure. Let's see how this week plays for the markets. Will we continue selling after hitting the resistance on a lot of indices? We'll be watching Apple as the strongest stock. Let's see how it acts this week. And I want to wish everyone a great weekend, whatever's left, and get some energy, get some power, and have a successful and profitable week. All the best.